My name is Prachi, and the YouTube record for most subscribers lost in a day is currently held by James Charles, who on May 11th, 2019 lost 1,261,460 subscribers. And this is a video in which I accidentally come out as gay while discussing the James Charles drama and how it pertains to the LGBT community. Now I know, you've probably seen 1 million videos on James Charles already, and honestly, I did not want to make this video, because I too have seen 1 million videos on this whole James Charles Tati drama. However, there were certain things and aspects of the situation that Tati had addressed in her video. They were sort of like lesser aspects in a sense, because there were of course much broader issues around like consent and celebrity and power and friendship and betrayal and all of that kind of stuff. However, I still think they're really important issues that need to be addressed and looked at, and I wanted to personally just get them off my chest. So I filmed this Get Ready with me, and as I get ready, I'm going to discuss the aspects that I don't think have been fully exhausted and plumbed to their depths yet. Namely, the impact that James Charles's behavior and this whole scandal has on certain aspects of the LGBT community and the way that we are perceived, as well as a couple complex issues around gender, sexuality, makeup, etc. I had constructed an outline for how this video wanted to go, and all of that kind of flew out of the window when I suddenly decided to out myself. Surprise! I'm not straight. I know I may have fooled you into thinking that I was a heterosexual up until now, but I am not. My own sexuality is not the issue here. And if it somehow does worsen your opinion of me, I don't care. That's all I really have to say on that topic. I do want to put a short disclaimer here that I am just one gay lady. My views do not reflect the entire LGBT community. I'm sure there are people who disagree with me. The LGBT community is not a monolith. I'm just sharing my own opinion, so I really want to make that super clear. The other disclaimer I want to give out is that I'm going to use gay throughout the video as a blanket term, because to say LGBT is really cumbersome, and although in academia a lot of people use the word queer, that word can be really upsetting to some members of the LGBT community who have had it used against them as a slur. So just know that in this video, when I say gay, I am using it as a broader umbrella term to represent the L, G, and B within the LGBT community. That's why when I call myself a gay lady, I am not saying that I'm a man who likes men. I'm saying that I'm part of the LGBT community. So having given you those disclaimers, let's get it. I'm gonna start this off by saying that I don't really follow James Charles, and I wasn't really subscribed to Tati either, but Tati's one of those people who she would often show up in my recommended, like when one of her videos would trend or whatever, and if she released content that seemed interesting, I would always watch it, because to me Tati's always been like a pillar of the beauty community, and even though I wasn't subscribed to her, I've watched like a whole bunch of her videos. I kind of have a sense of her personality, that kind of stuff. But I want you to know that I'm not like a person who's like super into what either of them are doing, nor am I a person who's like super into the drama of it all. I'm not gonna go into all of the drama, please. I know y'all have watched like a million different videos. And I'm gonna link a bunch down in the description box as well that will cover everything for you. But when that first issue with that guy Gage broke, I only sort of vaguely watched one video about it, and so I was like ill-informed, basically. And because I was ill-informed, my perception of what was going on in that situation was that Gage was a guy who like messed around with James Charles and he thought he was bisexual, or maybe he actually was bisexual, but then he realized that coming out as bisexual as a man would mean being labeled as gay because society is messed up like that, and being gay is like a big no-no, and so he like backed out, and that's why he was being so adamant that he's like straight or whatever. Like I said, I didn't know the whole situation. I didn't look into it beyond a video. I just sort of heard vaguely about it, and that was sort of my impression of it. And so my head just kind of like filled in the blank based off of like the script, because you know, like I'm part of the LGBT community, and this is like a thing that happens. Oh. I can just edit that out. Yeah. No, I won't edit that out. So I'm not straight. Never thought I'd be coming out like this, but I'm not straight. And I think I'm gonna leave in the fact that I'm not straight and just say what I say, because I need you to understand that I'm not coming at this as like an outsider, but as a person who was like part of the LGBT community, and that's why certain issues and things stuck out to me that seemed really kind of like, oh, nobody's talking about this. If I lose subscribers, I lose subscribers. Whatever. I feel like I need to say what I need to say, and I'm just gonna stand in my truth or what. Oh god, I can't believe I just did that. Whatever. Okay, I made the decision. Anyway, as part of the LGBT community, like, we all know what the down low is. There are so many studies out there that show that women are allowed to be much more fluid in their sexuality than men are. So women are allowed to experiment with same-sex behavior and they're not heavily punished for it. Whereas with men, even admitting that you maybe have desires for somebody of the same sex is like really, really taboo because of ideas around masculinity and gayness and all this kind of stuff, which are like really messed up. So this is like an observed phenomenon that bisexual men and even gay men are often on the down low and try to live heterosexual lives because they're going to be punished for being gay. To all of the members of the LGBT community, this is old news. We all know people on the DL. So with the incomplete information that I had around Gage and James Charles, that was sort of the perception that I had, which is that, oh, James Charles got involved with somebody on the DL, because I hadn't seen any texts or anything like that. Like I said, incomplete information. So I didn't perceive it as anything like particularly bad or wrong. I was just like, oh, this kid. Because I'm subscribed to Hannah Smoky Glow, she's actually the one who brought up the Tati situation for the first time. And last Friday, she came out with the video where she was talking about Tati's 40-minute video. And I'm like, oh, wait, like Tati released a 40-minute expose about James Charles? Like, what's going on? This is really odd. I'm gonna go check it out. And so I did that. And then I kind of like fell down the rabbit hole and I started watching all of the videos in the recommended section, all of the drama videos that had greater context and receipts and Gage's video and all this kind of stuff. And I got a much fuller, broader picture of what was going on. And a lot of people have already talked about the really, really important things, like the importance of consent and the fact that there are male victims of sexual assault, and they've also discussed the business aspect of it and the friendship aspect of it and like the celebrity aspect of it and the fact that fame and power make you entitled, and people have compared it to Me Too. Like, all of that stuff has already happened, so I'm not going to talk about any of that. Please go watch other people's cogent and poignant videos about that content. What I specifically want to talk about is the LGBT community, because as I outed myself, I'm a part of it. And there are certain things that stood up for me when I watched that I don't think necessarily like straight people notice. So the first thing that stood out to me that I really want to discuss is the fact that in Tati's video, she discussed how she went to dinner with James Charles's parents, and James was arguing with his dad that there's no such thing as straight people, that everyone is kind of gay. The reason why that really stuck out to me is because this is a thing I see a lot of like seemingly progressive people try to say, and even members of the LGBT community say in order to seem progressive or to like help our cause. And I'm here to tell you that that's actually a messed up argument and line of reasoning that actively hurts our cause. If you argue that there's no such thing as a straight person, you are also on some level arguing that there is no such thing as a gay person. Here's how that happens. When you say that there is no such thing as straight people and that everyone is kind of a little bit gay, what you're basically saying is that a whole bunch of straight people who are in relationships with people of the opposite sex are choosing to ignore their gayness and be straight. They're choosing to be straight instead of accessing the little bit of gay that is apparently inside everybody, according to you. Do you see why that's problematic yet? If you don't, let me break it down for you. Because if they're choosing to ignore the little bit of not straight or gay that they are, then that means that you, James Charles, a gay dude, and all of us other gays out here, we can also choose to ignore our gayness and be straight. You're validating the argument that we are choosing to be gay. You're making our sexuality seem like something we have a choice in, which we don't. This idea that we can somehow choose to be attracted to people of either the same gender or the opposite gender is what has been used to oppress gay people for a really, really long time. Because if you're saying that there's no such thing as a straight people and that everyone has a little bit of gay in them and that straight people can in fact choose to access that gayness or not, because that's the implication of the idea that, oh, no such thing as a straight person exists. The implication of that is that people who say they're straight are choosing to live straight lives. then you're also opening the door for the argument that gay people are choosing to live gay lives. And if it's a choice, then why are we making such a fuss? We should just shut up, sit down, and get in relationships with people of the opposite gender. We should just choose to be straight because it's so much more convenient for everybody. Instead of us gay people being out here in the streets trying to cause a ruckus to get rights and acknowledgement for same-sex relationships, we should just choose to be in opposite-sex relationships. If you're a person who thinks that everybody is a little bit gay, or the other popular version of this that I hear a lot is, oh, everyone's bisexual. I hope you now know and understand that that's super duper problematic. No, everyone is not gay. No, everyone is not bisexual. Homosexuals who are only attracted to people of the same gender exist. Heterosexuals, people who are only attracted to people of the opposite gender, they also exist. And bisexual people, who are people attracted to 2 or more genders, they also exist. When you say things like everyone's a little bit gay or everyone's a little bit bi, you actually erase the lived experiences of real gay and bi people, and you propagate a line of thinking that's actively harmful. Furthermore, speaking of propagating harmful thinking around the LGBT community, the fact that James Charles relentlessly pursues straight people, and he does this in this really creepy, predatory way, is so much more harmful for the LGBT community than people realize, I think. Listen, being a predator in general is just garbage behavior. Don't do it. I'm not saying somehow being a straight predator is like more acceptable. Absolutely not. However, one of the most insidious aspects of homophobia is this idea that gay people are all predators. This idea shows up in so many different ways around the LGBT community and the way that straight people perceive us. Like, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I remember watching a clip like a while back where James Charles was joking about how he like fell for a straight person, because that was just the only incident I had heard of. It was like one isolated event and I didn't have all of this like context, and I don't watch his video, so I didn't know that this was like a repeated theme across his like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. When I just heard it that one time, I remember I laughed because I was like, I get it. One of the universal experiences that almost every single member of the LGBT community has had is crushing on a straight person. We've all done it, but, and here's the difference, usually we do it on accident. We don't mean for it to happen. We don't pursue straight people. It just accidentally happens. And here's the bigger difference, when the vast majority of people in the LGBT community accidentally fall for a straight person, what we do is we laugh it off, smack ourselves in the back of the head for being idiots who fell for somebody who's straight, and then we move on, because we are not entitled little brats who think that everybody should be gay for us. We respect and acknowledge that that person is straight. And just like we have no control over the fact that we're gay, they have no control over the fact that they're straight. And so seeing Tati's video, and then all of the receipts that have come out after, and all of the allegations and everything that's come out since then that shows that you actually deliberately pursue straight people and behave in a predatory fashion towards them, that's so bad and so not in line with the way the vast majority of the LGBT community behaves. Just FYI, in case like a homophobe was out here using this as an excuse to hate on LGBT people. Because that stereotype that LGBT people are predatory shows up in a gajillion different ways. So here's an example that I'm confident many members of the LGBT community have experienced, which is that we have come out to a close friend of the same gender as us, and then suddenly had that friend become really paranoid and uncomfortable because they start interpreting all of our behavior, our purely platonic friendship-based behavior, as, oh my god, are you in love with me? Do you have a crush on me? Because I'm not into that. That feeds into this idea that gay people cannot ever have close platonic friendships with people of the same sex, because we are somehow always on the prowl. We're predators. You know, in honor of James Charles, I'm gonna actually try baking for the first time. This might be a disaster, guys. Actually, no. forget James Charles, in honor of all of the other upstanding members of the LGBT community, especially the drag queens that brought in this idea of baking into the beauty community and beauty industry, that's who I'm baking for. Anyway, like I was saying, the fact that gay people often can't have close platonic friends with people of the same gender, or like friendships being ruined or whatever, that's like a minor way in which the gay people are all predators stereotype comes out. Because in fact, the idea that gay people are all predators is at the root of a lot of very, very intense homophobia and transphobia. You know that whole like debacle with trans people in bathrooms that's been going on in the US? That relies heavily on the idea that trans people are predators who are trying to use the wrong restroom to access children or women and assault them. Moreover, gay and trans people especially, face intense amounts of violence that is often fatal because people perceive them trying to pursue any romantic relationship as being some kind of predatory trap. Now, I'm not gonna go super into this because there's actually an excellent video by a woman called ContraPoints called Are Traps Gay? ContraPoints will be able to explain far more eloquently than I possibly can while trying to apply glitter eyeliner the homophobia and transphobia and the very real danger and violence that trans people face every day in America, due in part to this idea that trans people are somehow like predators who are trying to trap you, an innocent straight, and corrupt you and trick you into being in a relationship or sleeping with this trans person. The idea that members of the LGBT community are predators doesn't just cost people friendships, it costs people their lives. And when you, a gay person, behave in a predatory manner towards people who have told you time and time again that they are straight, you end up perpetuating a stereotype that contributes to violence against a community that you belong to. I just really, really needed to get that off my chest. I hope that eyeliner is even. I don't know if it is. One other thing that I'm really, really happy that Tati addressed, and I've seen a couple people talk about this, but I wanted to talk about it in a slightly broader scope, is just the issue with James Charles and Marlena. Now, like I said, I don't really follow Tati or James Charles, so I didn't actually know about what he said about Marlena at the time that it had happened. So I went and I watched a couple videos on the incident, and I went back and watched the original video where James made certain comments about Marlena, and like, I'm so glad that Tati was like, no, and that she said what she said, because one of the reasons why I have never gotten into James Charles is because of his constant use of the word sisters. And like, I know that it's become basically a meme in the beauty community, but I'd like to take a second to just take a step back and be like, where did the term sisters come from? The term sisters came from the drag community. And where did the drag community get it from? The Black community, very specifically the community of Black women. There have been so many incredible and amazing linguistic innovations in the American English language over the last couple of years. Pretty much all of them have come from Black women, and then they have made their way from Black women into the drag community and then into the mainstream. But those are the roots of all of that language, Black women. And so it kind of always rubbed me the wrong way that James Charles went around like calling everybody sisters when he's not really a drag queen. Like James Charles is good, and he does occasionally, like I've seen some photos of him in like a wig and all of that kind of stuff, but he's not a drag queen. He's just a gay dude who does makeup, and a white one at that. And so it just kind of like annoyed me a little bit that he went around calling everybody sisters, and it annoyed me to the point where I was like, yeah, I don't really want to watch this kid. What I've realized, looking at everything that Tati said and the whole incident with Marlena and all of this kind of stuff, is that basically I have a really, really big problem with people like James Charles. And this is linked to like a broader idea around gay male misogyny, which is a very real thing, right? A lot of people think that gay dudes somehow can't be misogynistic because, oh, they're gay and somehow being gay is being effeminate. And if you're effeminate, then you can't be a misogynist. Scam. Gay male misogyny is a very, very real thing. So right now I'm talking about James Charles, but I also want you to know that I'm talking about like a broader issue, which is that like people like James Charles like enter into the world of beauty YouTube in like the year 2016, 2017. They shoot to success and they achieve that at such a young age. It like tricks him into thinking that he is like the hot shit, that somehow he got where he got to purely by himself and not because of the work of like thousands and thousands of people before him, the vast majority of whom are women and members of the drag community who are often members of the LGBT community. People on YouTube making videos about makeup, like, oh, I don't know, James Charles, are able to actually have serious clout within the makeup industry because of the doors opened by women like Marlena, who started her own business and released eyeshadows that changed the makeup game. I feel like people forget about this, but when Marlena came out with Makeup Geek eyeshadows, she was so successful and her eyeshadows were such a threat to the existing establishment due to their quality and price that MAC Cosmetics, a company that has been around for decades, lowered the price of their single pan eyeshadows. That's how much Marlena and Makeup Geek changed the game. And the idea that like James Charles was just walking around disrespecting her and saying that Marlena doesn't know anything. And the thing with James Charles is like that this is a pattern. Because I saw clips of the video where he tried to imitate the very first makeup tutorial on YouTube. I also remember watching clips of the video where he was like, I follow Jenna Marbles' makeup tutorial. And the way he kind of talked about the very first makeup tutorial by a woman called Adrienne, as well as the way Jenna Marbles did her makeup and stuff, like, that really rubbed me the wrong way. The way that he was so dismissive, the way that he was just kind of like, look how like she didn't know what she was doing, look how clueless she was, like this is so not like the right way. That really rubbed me the wrong way, like way back when I saw those videos. And to now be able to put it into a much broader context with the whole thing with Marlena and the way in which he treated Tati and just didn't respect her or acknowledge her or see her at all, like it just paints for me a picture of James Charles as a very entitled and ignorant person that represents like aspects of gay male misogyny that I am just really uncomfortable with. Because to me it seems almost like James Charles has no sense of history, and actually this is kind of sad, but no real sense of community either. I feel like Tati expressed it beautifully where she was like, oh, do you not think you're a part of the community? Do you think you're somehow like above all of this? Being a part of the community means knowing its history and acknowledging the many countless women and other members of the LGBT community who have paved the way for you, James Charles, and me, Prachi Singh, and all of us on this platform who have beauty-related content to be doing our thing. A large part of the reason why James Charles got to where he is because he's a boy who wears makeup. If you are a dude and you have somehow ascended really high in a field dominated by women, definitely talk about the hardships and the exclusion. Definitely talk about how you are marginalized and ostracized in some level for being a man in the LGBT community who wears makeup. But also like acknowledge the community. See the community and make sure you're like working with and amplifying women. And like James Charles needs to learn some of that. And I get that part of it is like probably his youth, because like I'm 25 and he's 19 and those 6 years represent a pretty big maturity gap. So like I get like, oh, he's like 19, but you gotta grow up sometime, kiddo. If you're gonna use the excuse that you're 19 for why you shouldn't be a role model or know things about like the makeup community or the LGBT community and that you aren't trying to be like a representative or a model, then I don't know what you're doing on a platform with a gajillion subscribers. Because like something's gotta give, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be like Tana Mongeau or whatever, where it's like, oh, you crave subscribers and the money and clout and fame that they bring you more than anything else, but then you also don't want to accept any of the responsibility that comes with that power. If at 19 you think you should have enough power to have 16 million subscribers, then you'd better also be ready for the responsibility that comes with that power, because like, not to go Spider-Man on you, but with great power comes great responsibility. Oh no. Y'all, unlike James Charles, I can admit when I've made a mistake, and I'm here to tell you that me making that decision to bake, I don't know how it's looking on camera, but like up close in this little mirror, I look like the crypt keeper. Like either I'm just like not good at baking, very real possibility because like, I don't know what I'm doing, or baking just like doesn't look good on my skin. Anyway, those are just the thoughts of one gay lady or gaiety on the James Charles situation. To like the 4 of my subscribers who actually took the time to watch this because you're not like exhausted by hearing about James Charles, thank you so much for watching. I hope what I said wasn't something that you've heard like a billion times over. If you have thoughts, leave them down below because I'm super interested in hearing those. Really hope my decision to come out isn't gonna lead to me receiving hate. I'm expecting a drop in subscribers because, you know, I hope what I said made sense. If something didn't and you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. As always, I hope you have a great upcoming week. And even if your upcoming week ends up becoming messy and imperfect, I hope that you're still able to create and experience some truly beautiful moments. Bye!